Hello everyone, it's ItsMTC again. That kind of sounded weird, but today it's going to be my third C# tutorial, and what this tutorial is going to be on is variables. This is going to be pretty much solely on variables, how you use them, what they are, other types of variables, and using a situation with them. So this is what we had last time, message box 1, yeah, you click the button. This was just working with message boxes like actions, arguments. You really learned a lot last time. What arguments are, how you write strings, how you use actions, and then use objects. So what we're going to want to do now is we're going to want to move this button down, and we're going to add a text box. Now, text box is kind of self-explanatory what it is. How we're going to use it might be a little bit different than what a normal person would use it. How we're going to use it is actually save the text box text into a variable, and then we're going to output the variable. So how we're going to do this is we're going to comment out this message box because we don't really need that right now. So how you create public variables. Now, why don't I just talk about variables right now? If you want to make a variable local, like just for this button one click, you can put it inside this private what's it called? This private method. But I like having variables global most of the time, unless it is actually like only these areas can view it. Which that can happen very often. I use that a lot when making programs and software and such. So it's pretty self-explanatory how you write variables. So string is going to be a string variable. Now, after you say the type of variable you want to save, you want to say the variable name. So I want to say string variable. Now put the semicolon, and now you just created a global variable called string variable. Now there's also other variables such as int. Int is an integer, and if you just type in the int, that's the simplest way of doing it. It's a 32-bit signed integer. You can also have int 16 or int 64, but I just like using int because it's simpler. So now we have the int variable. I'm sorry if I spell anything wrong. I'm terrible at spelling. So what's the difference between these two variables? I'll tell you what it is. String, if you have any idea what a string is, like I told you last time, it's just any text you want to output. Strings can contain numbers as long as they're included in the quotes. So pretty much that means anything can be in a string as long as it's in the quotes. Integers are very different. If you've been to math, like 7th grade math, I think they talk about integers. 6th grade maybe. I don't know. I forget. Integers can only be whole numbers. They can be negative numbers, they can be positive numbers, they just can't have any decimals whatsoever, and they can't have characters or anything. It has to be a number. And how you write integer variables is pretty much you just don't have quotes and you just write the number. So how you write to variables is you say in the button one click, you're going to want to say set the int variable to 1, just for the lulz. So we don't write int variable equals 1. We don't do that. We just simply knock off this int and we set the variable to 1. Now, as you can see, no errors came up talking about the numbers, but if I put this in quotes, because this is an integer, it's going to say cannot implicitly convert type string to integer, which that really means you're trying to make a whole number into a string, which is just really weird. It won't work, compiler won't know what the heck to do, and so on and so forth. And now, pretty much the same way you learn the message box show, string variable equal to 1. So now here, if you just write the integer, it's going to say cannot explicitly, I can't pronounce that word, int to string, which means a string can't contain just an integer. You have to put the integer in quotes for it to recognize it's a string. So, 2 ways to get the one variable across, but at the same time, 2 completely different ways of implementing it. So, how do we use variables? Well, I'll tell you that. When you have any sort of function, there's going to be variables included in it. The button1 function, button1, whenever you have the period, these are what I called like sub-methods, because button1 is really like the object or the main method, and then all of these are just other sub-methods or actions. But what I want to have is the text. Button1.text is like the widely known variable for buttons. Really, there's no other thing other than enabled, which means can you click it or not. But button1.text is going to be equal to textbox1.text is going to be what you want to set this string variable to. Now, the button1.text is going to be what the string form of what this thing is. But now, if you want to say the int variable is going to be equal to button1.length text.length. Now, the length is going to be outputted as a integer, because it's going to be a number because it's a length, and it's not going to have decimals because you can't have a half of a number or a letter. It's just not possible. So that's how you do it. Now what we can do is call our message box action again, and instead of outputting our things, how we can use variables again, say string variable plus int variable. So what the plus sign is other than if you have integers, it's going to output, if you have both integers in here, it's going to add them, but it's going to output both of these variables together. If I just had the string variable in the message box, it's going to just show the string of what the button1 text was. And if I just had the int variable, it's just going to do that. But what you can also do is you can also add your own strings inside this, as long as you add the plus, so that it recognizes that you're going to use the variable also. So I can say the text you entered is string variable, so whatever you entered, plus, and the length is. So now we just outputted our thing, and that's all good. And I don't really know why I use the button1 function instead of the text box, which I added in the beginning, but let me just add that. box1.text text box1. So now when we run it, isn't that silly? So apparently it doesn't have sufficient thing to use it. Okay, so what I did is I just pretty much went into my Visual Studio, my Visual C Sharp stuff folder for my tutorial, and I found my outputted thing because apparently it does this sometimes, but it just won't let me run my program. Oh, there it goes. Now it randomly works. So what we just set it to do is save the variable as whatever we want, and then output it in a message box whenever we click the button 1. So, hello everyone. So, we click this. The text you entered is hello everyone, which is what we entered. And the length is 15 characters. So let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 15. So, yep. This is how you, I went into a more advanced, let's just say basic, intermediate look into variables. A little bit more than I really wanted to, but that's okay. So, thanks for watching, everyone. Next tutorial I'm going to be going over a lot more stuff for your form you can do cool things with. So yeah, thanks for watching.